and just going out and being the hands and feet of Jesus. I believe that we helped God's kingdom go further, faster. It was just a great feeling to do that. People were excited, and we were received well. So thank you for that. I'm also excited about what God's going to do on Wednesday nights. I just want to give a quick plug on Wednesday night. We are always going to have a great meal. Number one, because I'm not cooking it at 5:30 on Wednesday, and so we invite you to come connect over that. Our little guys are doing superheroes of the Bible downstairs, so you're going to see superheroes running around the church. Our teenagers are doing underestimated. We want to see our teenagers, we want to challenge them. Step up and take on what God has for you. And Sheena and the crew always make that fun. Our adult classes, there are 5 to pick from. The book of Proverbs, which is all about wisdom and doing life well and avoiding things that you shouldn't. The book of Acts is a verse by verse. That's an expository study. The book of Mark is for men only. It's a Francis Chan video series. And then Route 66 is a Bible survey, and then a marriage class called Love and Respect. And I can't wait to see what God's going to do with this fall as we get into wow. All right, so today we're starting a brand new series called The Big Deal. And before I reveal what the big deal is for me, I want to tell you there's a couple things that keep me up at night, and you probably have a couple things that keep you up at night too. And I'm going to talk about one of those things this morning. One of the things that keeps me up at night as I think about life is this. Why don't people want to go to church anymore? Why don't people want to go to church anymore? So I'm going to ask you, go ahead and tell me, why do you think people don't want to go to church these days? Anybody have an answer? Why do you think people don't want to go to church?
Everybody's too tired.
What'd you say?
Everybody's a hypocrite.
Too many hypocrites. What?
Too tired.
Too tired? Yeah, that's true. Anybody else? But however, let me talk about this tired thing. If your boss told you you could show up to work at 10 o'clock in the morning, you would hug them. Anyway, just saying. All right, what else? What? What's that? Okay, so too judgy. They're feeling like pushed out. Yeah, I get that. Anybody else? Why don't people want to go to church? Okay, wounds of the past. Okay, yep. Anybody else? They were forced to? My dad was my pastor, and that was my drug problem. He drugged me to church every time the doors are open. I'll tell you what, even if he went on a Thursday to clean the windows, we're sitting in the pew watching him. We're there at church. I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. But anybody else? Why don't people want to go to church? Too busy. Okay, so let's kind of walk. I've polled some people and I've read some articles. I want to give you the 10 common answers why people don't go to church or don't want to go to church. Number one is church gets in the way of what I want to do. You know, there's sports, there's camping, there's all kinds of stuff. It cramps my stuff. I mean, it gets in the way. 2 is I'm good. I'm spiritual enough. I don't need that. I'm good. I'm good. I'm okay. 3, people just being honest, just lazy, sleeping in, whatever. 4, it's inconvenient. 5, too much of a hassle. 6, the country's getting more progressive and attending church seems archaic, which I think that's kind of on the money. Number 7, church is too judgy. I know there's not a word judgy for you teachers out there. I made it up, but you get the point. Church is too judgy. 8, too many hypocrites in the church, but there's always room for one more. Number 9, church is not relevant to me. They don't talk about anything about my life. It just kind of, just all the history stuff, and that doesn't really apply to me. Number 10, and I think this is also really, really true, is this mentality. Church is for churched people, and I don't want to be one of those. I find that a lot. It's like, well, church is for church people. I'm okay. I don't need to do that. And I get a lot of those answers. But what I want to tell you this morning is I love God's church. I hope that as we walk through this, and I'm going to kind of just give you my own thoughts, my own emotions to this, I hope that it's inspiring to you. I hope it's encouraging to you. And I hope that you walk away loving God's church too as we enter into this series. And so I want to tell you this. I love God's church, and I love what it does for me. And when I'm not connected to God's church, I lose. And these are the things that I lose, and I hope that you can connect to this and see this. Number 1, when I'm disconnected from church, I lose community, and I lose my sense of community. Some of you got things going on in your life, and I'm glad to pray for you. But if I'm disconnected, then there's no real community stuff. When I'm not in church, I lose encouragement that I gain from people around me. I don't know how many people said happy birthday to me yesterday, but there was a bunch. I mean, I had a hard time keeping up. But that was cool. I mean, it's encouraging to be part of something like that. I lose being part of something that's bigger than me. Think about this. What can humans accomplish? We can accomplish some big things, but when you compare this to God, God spoke the universe into being. He spoke the universe into being. The best that we could do is send this little, robot kind of thing to Mars, and as soon as it hit a big rock, we haven't heard from it since. That's the best we can do. But God is so much bigger, and when you partner with God's church, it's so much bigger than all of us. If I'm not connected to church, then I lose doing something bigger than me. It's not just being part of, but doing. I mean, I love actually going out. I mean, I got a breakfast invitation just from going out from day of service last week. This was cool. I lose the challenge that I get from losing my own narcissism. Church is my anti-selfish, my anti-narcissism pill. It's really easy. I can stay home. I mean, I wouldn't get paid, but I mean, you can stay home and not be part of church, and you can get really isolated and you can focus on yourself. But coming together and doing something bigger than me is my anti-selfism pill. What else do I lose? I lose the challenge of being a better human being. I lose the opportunity of seeing what God has done in the lives of those around me. I've seen, we've covered people in prayer, and we just pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. I mean, we pray our butts off, and then all of a sudden, that person we're praying for, they're healed from cancer. If I wasn't part of that community, I wouldn't even be, I had something to do with it. No, I was reminding God about that person. You lose opportunity of seeing what God is doing. And there's more of what I lose if I'm not part of church. So I found a video that I love this, and I hope that this just kind of connects with you. I hope that we can communicate this throughout our community, and so this is from my heart, hopefully to yours. Let's go ahead and roll this video.
Here's a few reasons why people don't go to church.
I can't come to church until I get my life together.
Church is how I got my life together.
Church is filled with a bunch of hypocrites.
And there's always room for one more.
All they care about is your money.
They care about me, not about my money.
Is there some kind of dress code?
Yes, the code is wear some clothes.
Church, it just makes me nervous.
I was nervous at first, and then I felt right at home.
I'm not sure I believe everything that you believe.
But you can still belong.
Church is for wimpy, girly men.
You want to say that again?
If you knew me and what I've done, you wouldn't want me.
If you knew me and what I've done, you wouldn't be worried.
You can come to my church even if you were brought up Catholic,
Baptist,
Methodist,
Jewish,
Mormon,
Lutheran,
Pentecostal,
Presbyterian,
Church of Christ,
Southern Baptist.
a little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing.
See, it's not about a religion, it's about a relationship.
So please, come to my church.
Where nobody's perfect.
Where beginners are welcome.
where socks are optional, but grace is required.
Where forgiveness is offered.
Where hope is alive.
and where it's okay to not be okay. Really.
So did that connect with you? We're all flawed people. And we all come up short on things. And I love the whole video. I love that people can feel like they belong at CCW long before they believe all kinds of things and long before they behave like some church person's supposed to behave. I love all of that. And so I hope that you see the value of church, and I hope our community sees the value of church. It is a big deal. So I'm going to tell you why I love the church. We're going to walk through this. And just so you're sitting there thinking, yeah, you get paid to love the church. Yeah, but you know what? I loved the church even when I was a little guy. I started teaching in church when I was 15. And even prior to that, my dad was a pastor. He wasn't always my pastor, but I remember when my dad was preaching on the 10 plagues that Egypt went through with Moses, and I thought it would be awesome to make that sermon come alive. And so on the Sunday that he was going to preach about the plague of the frogs, he had a pulpit that had like a compartment and the lid would open. So I went underneath the highway in one of those little, like, whatever those things, the tube that goes under the highway, and I caught a whole mess of frogs. And I put him in my dad's pulpit with a note that said, when you start preaching, Pastor, open the pulpit. And so he started preaching about the frogs, and he opened the pulpit, and he didn't think it was very funny. I love the church. There's a whole bunch of stories I could tell you about the church that, we're just a bunch of people. Do I love the church because it's perfect? Well, their church isn't perfect because it's led by imperfect people. Do I love the church because church people are so awesome they never complain? Okay, so I'm just going to be honest with you. Anymore, I'm getting old enough to where, my you know how you get older and the filter kind of like gets a little thinner. So anymore, I'm starting to get into this thing of when people come to me and say, I don't mean to complain, but I just start laughing. Because I'm like, well, first of all, you said I don't mean to complain, but, well, that means you actually do mean to complain, and now you're lying about it. It's like, I don't mean to complain, but it's kind of true and funny all at the same time. It's like, that's not why I love the church. Is it because I love the church because pastors only work on Sunday? Okay, I'll give you that one. No, that's not true. You think about this. I'm talking to intelligent people. And so I have to prepare to talk to intelligent people. And Sundays come every week. I don't know if you knew that, but Wednesdays too. Now we're pulling in Wednesdays. There's prep time. But I love what I do. Not every day, but I love what I do. So let me tell you why I love God's church, and I hope that you love it too. I'm going to give you 6 reasons today. So if you're a note taker, today's your day. So 6 reasons. Number 1, the first reason is this. Belonging to a church identifies you as a genuine follower of Jesus. Number 1, belonging to a church identifies you as a genuine follower of Jesus. If I'm not committed to God's church, then I really can't claim that I'm a follower of Jesus. And where do I get that from? Who says that? Actually, Jesus said it. This is John 13, 34 and 35. This is what he said. So now I am giving you a new commandment. What does it say? It's a commandment. It's not when you feel like it. It's not when someone's nice to you. This is a command. Love each other just as I have loved you. How much did Jesus love us? That's what he's asking. That's what the command is. You love each other just like I loved you. You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you're my disciples. It's proof. Everybody knows what John 3:16 says. But I bet you can't quote 1 John 3:16. This is what 1 John 3:16 says. We know what real love is because Jesus gave up his life for us. So we also ought to give up our lives for our brothers and sisters. Talk about the church. Talk about how we're supposed to function as a church. Talk about how much we're supposed to love as a church. Let me tell you something. When a church is not loving toward each other, that spills out into the community. Oh, that church. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I didn't expect anything else. But when we love each other like Jesus loves, and that spills in the community, oh my goodness, that proves that we are an authentic follower of Jesus. I love this. I love that when we come together at CCW, it doesn't matter about your race. It doesn't matter about your social status. It doesn't matter where you've come from. It doesn't matter about your politics. Praise God. And from whatever background, wherever you're coming, we come together and we love each other. Amen. And when we love each other, that spills out into the community. We don't keep it here. We go home and, hey, church, man, whoo, you need to come to my church. This is awesome. I mean, I tell you what, I had this going on in my life, and then I did this, I connected to God, and all of a sudden it's a great testimony. That's one of the reasons I love the church. When we love each other, when we do what Jesus tells us to do, number one, it proves that we're his disciples, we're his followers. But two, what it communicates to the world. I love that. Reason number two, belonging to a church, it moves you out of narcissism and self-centered isolationism. It moves you out of being a narcissist and self-centered, isolated. God's church is the classroom for learning how to get along as a family. We're a family. And sometimes families don't always get along super well, but you got to fix it. My children, never mind, you know. Because you have children too. And you know how families can function. But this is the classroom of learning how to do this. Just think about this anymore. I mean, our society is so different. You know, back in the day, think about how people used to live decades ago. Back in the day, when they're building houses, they built houses with big old front porches. Some houses had wraparound porches. My grandmother in West Virginia, she had a porch on 3 sides of her house. It's just this wraparound thing. And so this is how I remember, as a youngster going to see my grandma in West Virginia. They had horses. She canned. She had a huge garden. She was a school teacher. She would grind her meat. I don't know why she did that, but it's kind of, anyway, you get that picture. So my family in West Virginia, they're really, really busy. But when they knew we were coming, and we're driving down that dirt road, trying to avoid all the moonshiners, when we're coming to my grandma's house, you know where my grandmother was? Sitting in the rocker on the front porch, waiting to connect to us. We don't live like that anymore. We don't. You don't even see houses that are built unless they're kind of a throwback house. We have maybe an entryway, maybe a little porch, something like that. But that's not how we live. How we live is we get in our cars, we hit the garage door opener, we enter our house through our garage, we got a front door, but we enter through the garage, we close the garage door, we might wave at the neighbor if they're out walking the dog, maybe. We go inside, we shop online, we communicate on our devices, we do all kinds of stuff where we're isolating and being alone on this day. This is also what we do. More companies are doing remote work practices, and then we do this. We socialize on Facebook, we socialize on Instagram, and we get our decorating ideas from Pinterest. Talking to people in the same room is getting lost. Taking an interest in other people, investing your life in someone else, making a difference on this planet requires you to be connected and involved in the life of someone else. That's one of the reasons I love the church. It brings us together. That's why I like breaking bread on Wednesday nights. That's how I'm getting to know people. Sitting down, I'll steal I shouldn't admit this. I already said it. Sometimes I'll steal somebody's phone and somebody will take a picture. No, I take the picture anyway. Stuff like that. It happens. But I want to give us all a warning this morning. This isolation thing, this detached, I don't need church thing, I want to warn us all this morning. We have an enemy, and God has an ultimate enemy. His name is Satan. And Satan loves detached and isolated people. People who are not connected to God's church, not really involved, unplugged, not really accountable to anyone. Satan loves people like that. You know why? Because he knows when we detach, he knows when we isolate ourselves, he knows that eventually we're going to become weak. He knows eventually we're going to become defenseless. He knows eventually we're going to become powerless. He knows that eventually we will give in to his tactics because we're fighting him all alone as detached and isolated. So, church, stay connected. Stay involved. God's church is a lab for practicing unselfishness and sympathetic love. When you are active and participating in CCW, you learn to care about other people. If you don't know this, we have this care page. If you want to get connected to the care page, you want to be able to pray for people or ask people to pray for you, man, jump on this. I mean, if you're not on Facebook, then let us know. We'll try to communicate other ways, but care about people. Share experiences with people. We're supposed to be connected. We're supposed to be, and this is a hard word for me to say, we're supposed to be dependent upon each other. I mean, I'd rather help you with your needs than tell you what mine are. But God tells us we're supposed to be dependent. We're supposed to be connected. We're supposed to be doing life together, not isolating. Where do I get this from? This is 1 Corinthians 12:26. It says this: if one part suffers, talking about the church, if one part of the church suffers, all the parts suffer with it. There's a loss. Somebody loses their job. Something happens. Whatever it is, we're moved. We have sympathy. We do something. And if one part is honored, all the parts are glad. Somebody gets a raise. Somebody has a baby. Whatever. I mean, we celebrate. We should celebrate stuff together. That's how we're supposed to function. This is 1 Peter 3:8. And now this word to all of you. You should be like one big happy family, full of sympathy toward each other, loving one another with tender hearts and humble minds. I love the picture of that verse. If our church can function like just one big happy family, full of sympathy toward each other, loving one another, tender hearts, and humble in mind. That means even if I think I'm right, I'm not going to tell you I'm right because I'm going to be humble. And man, I love you, and it's cool. And, you know, if you think that, you know, Chicago Cubs are the best team, I'll pray for you, you know, because the Cardinals are in first place. God's team, all that stuff, you know, I promise you. Anyway, I love the church because God created the church to function as a family. We're supposed to be okay with each other. We're supposed to love each other. We're supposed to care for each other. I love that. I love that God does not expect me to handle life all on my own. I have you. You know, so many of you, my dad died in June. So many of you come up, man, I'm so sorry. I've been praying for you a lot. And man, I tell you what, it props me up. That's how we're supposed to function. I love that. Reason number 3, belonging to a church helps you develop spiritual muscle. Belonging to a church helps you develop spiritual muscle. No one will ever grow to full maturity by sitting in these rows on Sundays at 10. Don't get me wrong, we're glad you're here. I mean, I love that you feel like you belong to CCW, but if you want to grow to your fullest potential, then get involved. God will stretch you. God will use you. And you know what? I don't know what to say. You know what? By next Sunday, you're not going to remember what I said today. But you're going to remember that I was up here. Don't underestimate the ministry of your presence in someone else's life. That you loved them, you cared for them. I'm praying for you. Sometimes that's all you should say. When someone has a loss, I've seen people say some stupid things at funeral homes. I think the smartest thing to say is, I am sorry. That's it. Praying for you. Hug you. I love you. But, you know, it'll be okay. You should be over this by now or whatever. Come on. I'm sorry. That's it. Grow. Let me ask you, how do you grow? In science, when you look at horticulture, when you look at plants, grass, does it grow in the heat of the sun and daylight when everything's awesome, or does it grow at night in the darkness? Sometimes God allows things in your life or brings things in your life. He permits or he directs, and he wants you to grow. And he wants you to get stretched. When's the last time that you saw growth in your life? I believe that only actual participation in the life of God's church will build spiritual muscle. It'll grow you. You got to get connected. Get isolated, you're not going to develop to your full potential. Where does this come from? Ephesians 4:16. He makes the whole body fit together perfectly, as each part does its own special work. It helps the other parts grow so the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. I love this. I love the fact that God created the church because he wants me to have a better life. God wants you to have a better life. And God wants us to figure out how to have a better life together. I love that. There are some things, man, there's some people out here that you are so talented and so gifted in things. Man, you do not want me doing that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about that in a second here on this one. Reason number 4. Belonging to a church helps you to recognize that you are needed. Belonging to a church helps you recognize you're needed. God has a unique role for you. God has gifted you. You are a 10 and something, maybe more than one thing. You are really, really good. And he expects you to use your gifts for his church. When I was in Michigan, I would say things like this. I need to know, how many, I'm putting you on the spot. How many OCD people in church? You would say, yeah, OCD. This is what I used to say in Michigan. I need to find out who our OCD people are so I can invite them to my office to the paper filing party. Because I hate, don't think I'm joking. I hate filing papers. I love organization. I love to know where things are. I don't enjoy chaos at all. I hate filing papers. And so I'm like, I need to find our OCD people so I can invite them to the paper filing party I'm going to hold in my office. And so I said that enough that one of our favorite people in our lives, her name's Joan, she came up to me and she goes, I love doing stuff like that. What's wrong with you? And so this is what happened. She started coming to my office when I wasn't there, and she's like tidying things up, and then she, now pull out this drawer, and I'm like, oh. It was awesome. And eventually we hired her. I mean, she started working really closely with me, and she kept saying stuff like this, I can't believe I get to do this. And I'm like, you're a freak, man, this is crazy. Then I just want to preach and teach. Well, that's what God's called me to do. I love the people stuff. I don't love the paper stuff. And so, some of you, figure it out. It's like, I can't believe I get to do this. You do not want me cooking in the kitchen. I break out into hives when I walk in the kitchen. And I'm like, hey, Dar, how you doing? I'm out. I cannot preach and try to staff the nursery. I don't want to do what I do and try to do the nitty-gritty of the finances of the church. Corinne, I love our staff. I mean, I really do. I mean, they help me accomplish so much stuff. And Corinne, man, she does a great job with our finances. And I've told her many, many times, you're doing such a great job for us. You're like the bumpers in the bowling alley. You just keep us in play. Hopefully she's not offended, but I tell her that all the time. Like, this is awesome. God has made you good at stuff. So figure it out. God expects you to use your gifts in his church. Where does this come from? How do I know this? 1 Corinthians 12:7. A spiritual gift is given to each of us so we can help each other. This is the Living Bible, a paraphrase. The Holy Spirit displays God's power through each of us as a means of helping the entire church. This is what I love. This is what I love. I love that God has designed his church to develop people. He's designed his church so we can discover and use our gifts. I mean, as we keep talking about stuff, and I love that the fact that teenagers are in here on Wednesday night, and so we're going to be much more intentional, just teaching teenagers how to run the equipment back there, and to just, we believe our teenagers are part of the church right now. It's not the future church. We believe they're part of the church right now. Amen, church? Isn't it true? And so, man, we want to develop people. And this is where we got to get a little better. All of us. We have to be a little more open-handed. This is what this means. Okay, so I believe in you, and I believe in you, and I believe, okay, so I'm going to ask you to do something, and you're probably not going to do it the way I would do it, and it's okay. Open-handed. Why do we do this? We do this to develop people and help them figure out and discover their gifts. There's one more thing. God's going to help us do this because God never promised in the Bible anywhere that he is going to grow your personal ministry. He never said that, ever. He never said, I'm going to grow your personal ministry. You know what Jesus did promise? I will build my church. Amen. So God is going to develop his church, and he wants to use us to do this. I'm just excited about that. Okay, reason number 5. I'm getting preachy here. I got to keep going. Number 5. I got 2 more to go. Belonging to a church helps you to change your life and keeps you from stumbling. This is one of my favorite things about God's church. I'm going to say it again. Belonging to a church helps you change your life and keeps you from stumbling. There is nothing on the planet like this church. Nothing. Let me prove it to you. Human beings, when they get caught, when they get in trouble, let's just say a human being gets caught to the point of they have to go to court. And they go to court and they stand before a judge, man, they're freaking out and they're nervous. And all this stuff is coming down and the judge is like, and you're freaking out. Most of the time, human beings do this. Whew, man, I don't want to get caught doing that again. And that's where their mind goes. Their mind goes to this, how do I not get caught? Their mind goes to, I don't like this consequence, so I need to figure something out. I need to massage something in my life so I don't have to land here again. God's church is not like that. God's church is like this. You come to church and you connect to the God of the church with all of your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you connect to God, and this is what happens. God starts changing you from the inside out. Nothing on this planet, including court, can do that. God changes us inside out. I love this about the church. I want to come in. I want to come to church, and I want to be spoken to. I want somebody that's like, okay, you can do this better. Think about this. Yeah, I remember when Sheena was talking a couple weeks ago. You better choose joy. You better remember the challenges in your life. They're given to you so you can grow. I'm like, Sheena, shut up. I mean, I don't want to hear that. But it's true. I didn't say that to her, but inside it's like, yeah, she's right. So the next time a bump comes, like, yeah, God is wanting me to grow. I love the fact that God has put his church together so that when we come to church, we can find hope. We can find peace. We can find love. We can change, and it can keep us from tripping ourselves up again because God is changing us from the inside out. Romans 12:2. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then, not trying to get caught again, change the way you think, which affects your belief system and your behavior. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. You know, being part of a church family, belonging to a church, can keep you from messing up your life. We are really good at wrecking our lives. We're just good at it. And we just slide there. Growth takes intentionality. Growth takes work. Growth takes focus. Sliding, we just do that. That's a natural thing. Hebrews 3:12-13 says, see to it, brothers, that none of you has a sinful, unbelieving heart that turns away from the living God, but encourage one another, not on Sunday. Not on Sunday. Encourage one another, what does it say, CCW? Daily. Encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. That's what it does, man. We keep doing it, and then our hearts get hard, and our heads get hard. It's like, I'm okay. I deserve this. I can handle this. Encourage each other every day. Galatians 6:1-3. Dear brothers and sisters, church, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. Share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ. Love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. And if you think you are too important to help somebody, you're only fooling yourself. You're not that important. I love that God has designed his church, that he's designed it for hope and grace and love and change, and he drives it through the church. There's one more thing I want to tell you. I've not always been good at this. I remember years and years ago going to Catalyst Conference, and I don't even remember what the speakers were talking about. I mean, there's phenomenal speakers there, and I can't wait. We're going in a couple weeks down to Atlanta and taking all these great speakers. But I remember this one year that God just was pounding on me. I mean, pounding on me. And you know what the message was? Bunyan, you're too quick to find fault. He's really talking about my children. You know, I don't do this to my kids. I don't do this. You're the pastor's children. I mean, listen, I was a PK growing up, and I was twice as bad to prove people I was halfway normal. And I'm like, no. You know, they're just kids. I don't do that. But there are times that I would jump and start barking at my kids, and I didn't even know why they did what they did. And half the time they were just being innocent, and I'm just barking, and it's just like, oh my goodness. I'll give you one time that years ago, this is what happened. I'm at church, and this person shows up and was complaining about a visitor we had in the church. He had a pink mohawk. Well, I know this guy. He's a youth pastor in the inner city. He's trying to connect with kids down there, so it makes sense why he looks the way he looks. But he's an authentic follower of Jesus. But this dude in the church came in over an hour. He's going to hell. There's no way a Christian could have a haircut like that. I'm like, shut up, man. What do you know? I didn't say that, but inside I'm like, I know. Do you know it? No, I know him. I know he's an authentic follower of Jesus. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to connect to people in the inner city. Come on, man. I mean, what are you doing? Then another individual came and was chit-chatting to me for 2.5 hours. No, it's the other way around. She came first for 2.5 hours, and then he followed that up with an hour of this person's going to hell. And then that lady came back for 2 more hours. I have no idea what for. And so I am like, all of the words that I would use in a week, I used in a day. So my wife was out doing some woman's thing, whatever she's doing, you know, she's out. So I come home, and this is what I told my children. I'm sitting down for supper with my children, and I said this to them. No one is allowed to talk. So stupid. I could have just taken my plate and gone to a different room. They could have had supper and talk all they want. It's no big deal. But when I would go to Catalyst, God's like, you're so quick to find fault. And so I came home and I apologized to my children. And so this is how I try to live now. And I'm asking you to join me in this as God's church. I try to give a ton of grace. I try to give a ton of grace. And here's why. Because I know that one day I'm going to need grace too. If you think that you're going to live your life perfectly and never make mistakes, and you're never going to need people to give you grace, you got to rethink it. Let's give grace because God designed his church to have hope and grace and love and change and to keep people from wrecking their lives. Last reason. I know my time is gone. I'll try to pick it up. Last reason. Belonging to a church helps you to share in Christ's mission in the world. We are not here just for us. There is a mission on this planet. We are the instrument on this earth. We don't just model God's love. We take it to people. We take it outside these walls. We carry it to the rest of the world. Think about this. As part of God's church, we are part of the biggest business on the planet. There is not one business on this planet that has more branches than God's church. And we are part of that. It is so awesome to me that the church is here for the entire world. We at CCW are part of God's hands and his feet and his eyes when we see needs and his heart that we take to people. We each have a contribution to make. Ephesians 2:10. For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. What's he want us to do? He wants us to take the good news about Jesus wherever we go. He wants us to love each other so it spills out into the community. He wants us to look at the people around us. Jesus came to seek and to save lost people. He came for the sick. He came to connect to those who are hurting and who have wrecked their lives, and he loved those people. He was right in the middle of them, right there just fellowshipping with sinners, and he loved them. So I have a question for us this morning. It's a big question. Are we loving people like Jesus? Are we loving people like Jesus? I mean, there's people all around us in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our marketplaces, in our schools, in our families, in our church. We have people all around us that have problems and have messed up lives. My question is not, do you know who they are? My question is, are we loving them like Jesus does? Different question. I believe that if we love people like Jesus does, we are going to see CCW grow. And it's going to be fast to just help people, love people, give them hope, give them grace, and see what God will do with that. I've given y'all a take home. Let me see. Everybody's got a rope, hopefully. Let me see. Just woohoo, whatever, party time. Woohoo. Some of you guys saw whipping people in your row with these. That's not what it's designed for, so let me walk you through this. This rope, it's got the loop on the end, and it's got 3 knots on it. I am asking you to put this where you see it every day. So if I get too far in this, I want to thank my wife and my daughter who helped me put all of these together. And so they worked all week long, so I want to thank them. But I want you to put this take home where you see it. Hang it somewhere. I want you to see it every day. And here is why I am giving you this. I want to ask you this question. I love God's church. I love CCW. I hope you do too. When is the last time that you invited someone to CCW? When is the last time you invited? Maybe you haven't seen somebody in a while. Give them a call. Drive to their house. Whatever. Invite them to church. And so this is what this reminder, this take home is about. I am challenging all of us to invest your life in someone else's so that you can invite them to Jesus. Invest and invite. Invest your life in someone else's so that you can invite them to Jesus. I don't care if they're your golfing buddies. I don't care if they're the girls you go shopping with. I don't care who it is. Be an intentional friend so that you invest your life in them, so you invite them to Jesus. Okay, so what are the knots about? I want to give you the 3 knots, so it is a trigger in your mind. When you hear somebody say one of these knots, it is a trigger to invite them to church. When you hear somebody say, I'm not from around here, look at their license plate. Somebody pulls in from Illinois or wherever. Hey, new around here. Hey, I want to invite you to my church. That's an easy one. I'm not from around here. The second one, I'm not attending church. I don't go to church. I'm not attending church. So what? Invite him to church. Tell him we love to do church differently. Man, we got this new preacher. Man, he's kind of a freak. He put frogs in his dad's pulpit so they jump all over church. What? Come check it out. Come and see. I'm not going to church. And then when you hear somebody say, man, I was not ready for that in my life. Hope and love and grace can be found at this church. I was not planning on that in my life. Invite them to church. So here's your 3 knots. This is your homework. Next Sunday is National Back to Church Sunday. And so we're going to do some things a little bit differently. I think we're even going to play a Justin Timberlake song next week because one of the complaints that unchurched people say is, I didn't know any of the music. Well, we're going to fix that. And so I invite people for Back to Church Sunday next Sunday. So let me run through these 6 things real quickly, and then I'm going to pray us out of here this morning. 6 reasons why I love the church, and I hope and I pray that I've inspired you and encouraged you to love the church too. Number 1, belonging to a church identifies you as a genuine follower of Jesus. Number 2, belonging to a church moves you out of narcissism and self-centered isolation. Number 3, belonging to a church helps you to develop spiritual muscle to grow. Belonging to a church helps you to recognize that you're needed. You got gifts, use them. Number 5, belonging to a church helps you to change your life and keeps you from stumbling. And number 6, belonging to a church helps you to share in Christ's mission in the world. I want to pray us out of here this morning. Thank you for taking this journey with me. If you need some help and hope, there's going to be people over here on this wall that we're glad to pray with you and connect with you. I just want to pray us out, and then we will be on our way, inviting people to church. God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us this thing called the church. And not only do we meet on a Sunday, but your son, Jesus, he died. And he proclaimed that he was going to build his church. And he rose from the grave, conquering sin and death. And he did all of that so that we can connect to you and we can be forgiven and we can have hope and we can have love and we can have grace and we can have peace in our lives. Help us to function like that. Help us to stay true to our vision and our purpose, just to help people connect to your son and to help them live out a great life. Help us to do that. Thank you, Father, for loving us, for being patient with us. Help us to just give your grace, give your love away. Help us to have a great testimony in our community. And when people think about CCW, they have really good thoughts because of how we love each other, how we function, and how we treat them. And God, lastly, as we look at National Baptist Church Sunday next week, I pray that we see a whole bunch of people that we don't recognize because of the efforts of your people right here. I pray that this rope is something that triggers their mind. And throughout this week, they're inviting all kinds of people to come hang out, whether it's a Wednesday for a meal or a class, or to come next Sunday just checking things out. God, I am asking that you use CCW mightily for your kingdom, not for our glory, not for our pats on the back. This is your church. Help us to just follow after you. Lead us on. Thank you for doing what you're doing. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you so much for being here.